And Vainius, where are you calling in from today?
Calling in from Lithuania. It's getting towards the end of the day, but wouldn't miss the opportunity to have a chat with you, yeah, to share the thoughts on the industry, on our partnership. And so I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, happy to finally have this opportunity to sit down and talk about all the things that we were able to achieve.
Likewise, I think we're going to have some fun, and I like asking where you're located because it demonstrates the global coverage that SumSub offers. And that's really a hard part of the market to service, offering that full breadth to capture every possible customer out there. And it speaks to the global nature of your business. Can you tell us a little bit about SumSub and what you do for clients?
Absolutely. Well, I think you kicked off things pretty well, saying that we're global and that we're trying to resolve as many possible challenges within the identity verification industry as there are. That's why we position ourselves as an all-in-one verification platform. And we've been kind of, let's say, in the industry from the early on, starting with the most basic KYC IDV challenges that everybody's very well familiar with. And then as, let's say, our presence geographically grew, as our customer base grew significantly, we started getting into, let's say, the areas of fraud prevention, business verification, transaction monitoring, and so forth. And that kind of got us to a place where we are right now. You know, we have a broad stack of technology of products that we incorporate into our platform and that we kind of offer to our clients to ensure that you know, as many of their let's say verification needs burdens are removed with a single integration, with having us supporting them, with having us providing them the end-to-end workflows for their customers, for their end users, and trying to do this in an efficient, fast, and classy way at the same time, I suppose. That's basically who we are. That's what we have been aiming for the last, I guess, 10 years or so.
Some in substance, fast and classy. Thanks for that.
As we know, companies in the US, from, let's say, a regulatory point of view, they are looking to deliver authoritative data sources and authoritative data when it comes to the verification of their end users. And so we know quite well that ECBSE being one of the main programs for data verification in the US has kind of started growing in relevance over the past years, and as SumSub we're trying to catch up with that trend to make sure that we are also supporting the service, the solution. So from a, let's say, from authoritativeness standpoint, from a government data standpoint and support, SumSub is going to the trajectory to make sure that let's say our solutions, let's say the data-driven solutions that we built, are based on as much as possible on authoritative data elements, because this is what regulated businesses expect from us more and more so, especially in the US market.
Mhm.
Right. So I think that's that kind of that trend, that trajectory towards understanding where your data is coming from, ensuring that the source is authoritative, relevant, right? Yeah, ensuring that the data goes through necessary cycles of pre-verification before it can be reused for further purposes. That all those checkboxes are marked, right? And so yeah, that's what we see, that's what we understand as an organization. So especially for the US, this is kind of like a relatively new thing for us, but we are, yeah, actively working on deploying as many possible, say, solutions and sources to deliver on this business need. I would say there are a couple of tendencies that are taking place here. So, like I said, clients are expecting a lot more transparency in terms of, especially in terms of data-driven verification solutions, right? They expect a lot more transparency from service providers. They expect clarity, and they expect a lot more, let's say, a higher level of due diligence with regards to the information associated with it. And so the clients are actually the ones who push us on a daily basis to get to that degree, because they want to ensure regulatory compliance. They want to ensure and want to be able to, let's say, demonstrate to the regulatory institutions, to those bodies, that they have all the necessary tools and instruments under the hood, that they have taken all the necessary, let's say, steps to address the possible risks of user verification, to ensure, and to being able to demonstrate and substantiate all that with, let's say, where the data comes from, what kind of verification methods and solutions they are using. And so from that, I would say that's one perspective. And at the same time, I guess, since you mentioned from, let's say, an identity fraud point of view, everybody knows perfectly well that the methods and tools for identity fraud are becoming super sophisticated, and it's kind of a daily challenge now, trying to play catch up with for example, with the AI driven, let's say, tools that we are being seen used in the industry for identity documents, for biometric data, right? So basically, fighting fraud is a nonstop kind of, it's an uphill battle. That's I think personally, when we go into these conversations, that's why I think kind of like where data-driven products become super relevant, in the sense that we rely on pre-verified data that has gone through necessary KYC cycles, right? And so we are able to leverage that as part, as part of the flow. We're able to kind of leverage that in ensuring that identity fraud is sort of prevented at the early stages of the verification, and so kind of, that's basically that the individuals that are onboarded can be trusted, and that the individuals that, let's say, for example, need additional risk measures go through different funnels. So that's actually what we're seeing on a global scale, at least from our team's perspective. And to be honest with you, I think it's the tendency is going to continue and intensify even further. The expectations from the regulatory bodies are going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to expand across all industries, including exchange companies, including iGaming companies. We're going to probably expand into other sections that are currently non-regulated, and at the same time, we have layers and layers of different identity fraud tools that need to be addressed, that need to be tackled. And so basically, that's the problem that we're trying to resolve on an organizational level, and at the same time, what our team has to deal with, and what we're trying to address.
Those are questions where you're asked about trade line questions from credit header files about properties you've owned, if you've ever had a lease with Honda Auto Finance, things like that, to validate who you are. But as we see AI spoofs happen more and more, it's hard to create a quality fake credit profile or get within the SSA and be recognized within the CBSV, or even the familial relation. Something I think has been kind of under leveraged in the market is the fact that Enformion, among our identity graph, can point out brother, mother, sister, father in familial relationships, and then analyzing that name type nomenclature, shared addresses, to paint a picture of synthetic fraud, and marrying that all back to the biometric. Biometrics.v actually absolutely has a service to play in the customer onboarding experience. But I just love data match from a user experience perspective. There's a FinCEN decision in August 2025, or opinion, I should say, accepting pre-fill for SIP KYC programs. It's where a consumer can put their phone number and date of birth and verify possession of that phone number to kind of pre-fill a profile that's acceptable for SIP and KYC. And we know 2/3 of users will abandon sign up if it takes more than 60 seconds. I just heard a bird and I want to look out the window. It's important we capture that kind of instant gratification and distractibility in the attention economy that we have today. So have you seen more use of data match at the beginning of the funnel, or are you still offering customers primarily a document flow that ties into data match? Can you talk to me about what the end
Absolutely.
user is experiencing with a typical onboarding flow?
Makes sense. Yeah, I think in the US, especially, we see most of the organizations apply data-driven verification at the very start of the flow, basically to make sure that those, let's say, end users that can be trusted and whose identity is already kind of verified based on, yeah, reliable records. Then basically that part of the process usually sits at the very start. And then those users then additionally kind of need additional risk measures depending on, let's say, what type of maybe product they're buying, what type of account they're opening, or even, let's say, the business that they're onboarding to. Then those users might potentially go through additional stages of verification, be it document-driven verification, but then again, we can talk about the physical identity documents now going into sort of a digitized stage, and the whole transition from physical to digital identity documents. But so I think you're absolutely correct because you captured two essential points is that we want to make sure that we address, let's say, the market standards from a user experience standpoint, and companies are, let's say, fighting hard for every single new customer, new end user. And that's where, let's say, the user experience, the user conversion plays an important role. As in, we want to make sure that the users who can be verified at a reliable degree can be verified as quickly as possible, basically, and to prevent drop-offs and any kind of additional related challenges. And the second point that you kind of emphasized is that let's say the ability to cross-check the different data records that we have from credit bureaus, telecommunication companies, utility companies, etc., that gives us an additional layer of reliability to capture the different cohorts to ensure kind of that no, let's say, well, I would say reliable, customer reliable end user gets left behind. They don't have to go through different stage and cycles of verification. And yeah, and so that's where I think kind of our partnership, ties in nicely, as in we were able to achieve this exact goal and have been successfully doing it for a while now. So I don't know if you share the same view, but yeah, that's at least how I see the current situation.
We engaged, I talked to your partner team, and then there was a conversation around when Donald Trump was in office for the second time because crypto started to have what
Yeah.
people called the Trump pump, right? Can you tell us a little bit about one of your clients and cohorts we were able to help out with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I think this is going to be quite important for the listeners to understand how partnerships such as Enformions and SumSubs can bring substantial value in terms of verified, reliable data records combined with an identity orchestration platform. Because let's say in our particular cases and the specific client that you've outlined, right? Um, it's quite well known in the industry that there's, let's say, a struggle to onboard, let's say, younger customers from the young cohorts because on one hand we have, let's say, the document-based identity verification and also document-based address verification stages in the KYC flow, which those cohorts and those users may consider kind of burdensome, and this is probably not the user experience standards that are currently sort of being set by the market. So sort of a fast access, fast account creation is definitely let's say the standards that everybody's aiming towards, which is why kind of that type of verification is becoming challenging. And then on the second hand, we have the fact that, let's say, the verified records and let's say data-driven products might find it hard to verify those end users because their, let's say, their electronic records don't necessarily exist, in too many databases, in too many specific files. And so as a result, us partnering with Enformion, the ability to capture the younger user cohort and to verify them at at a high certainty, reducing the approval rates significantly. I believe it was at least by 10% that we dropped the rejections, increasing the approval rates to over 85%. I think maybe it was in the 90%, and so that's kind of where I think we saw the real value, where our clients saw the value in the partnership, because we were able to address a very specific, let's say, pain point in the industry, of ensuring that, let's say, the end users, the younger end users, get the best-in-class user experience, while at the same time ensuring that we have verified records of those individuals coming from authoritative sources, and that we can actually leverage them for document-free verification. So this is basically how it all went down, and it's why I think it was especially beneficial for our companies to collaborate on, even just to resolve this one specific use case. I believe it was already worth it.
The market has a strong need for lack of a better term, what I used to call a single throat to choke, right? A single partner or vendor to be responsible to pick up the phone when something goes wrong, when there's a new threat vector, when there's a new ID issuance type, rather than using various point solutions. And I think SumSub does an excellent job at solving that for a large part of the market, while at the same time delivering on the breadth of coverage. When companies partner with an identity verification vendor, they are looking to capture every possible applicant because they paid dearly. They fought for that new customer. So I love any provider that has DocV involved, data match as well to recapture potentially lost customers. Where Enformion really excels is by partnering with providers like a SumSub. I consider us much more of a point solution. One can hit our API, and we do 1 billion API calls a month. We operate within the United States only, and that's our purview. That's our domain expertise. We're running champion challengers all day long to help fill gaps in coverage for students new to country, et cetera. Population, we have been around for 35 years doing identity resolution. So a lot of brain damage, hard fought lessons along the way to build out an identity graph, handle big data, and do it right. And I think there's a time to use a point solution like an Enformion, and then there's a time to partner with a company like SumSub. And we might be a good partner for somebody looking to batch enrich of their CRM. But in terms of a working operating model, understanding who your customers are, an orchestration platform is either going to have to be built internally, or you'll need a partner like SumSub or one of our excellent other partners. So I think that full stack approach makes a ton of sense.
The final takeaways for, let's say, any of our listeners, based on, let's say, our conversation in general, I guess, is that friction is the enemy of verification, of onboarding, but data is the antidote. Data-driven solutions are the antidote. And so that's kind of the approach that we're adopting in our organization on SumSub. But ultimately, that the mission that we have has always been to be a single verification platform, an all-in-one verification platform for our customer, for our clients, for our customer needs. And that's exactly what we are doing in terms of adopting different products into our stack. Whether it's KYC, KYB, transaction monitoring, AML, reusable KYC. And in this interesting, let's say, I would say transformation of the market, where we are seeing now a kind of an interesting phase where physical identity verification is transitioning into digital identity verification, and there's kind of this being a phase of transition, an interim period. That's where companies such as ourselves, that's where we deliver the most value in being able to incorporate all those different verification methods, all those different tools to support our clients through different periods of transition, to support tendencies, changes within, let's say, customer habits, and their expectations. We basically want to make sure that we have whatever let's say whatever type of issue, whatever type of challenge our customers may be facing with, that we would have a solution available for them. And that's why we're following the market. That's why we're following those tendencies. That's why we kind of try to keep our finger on the pulse and be prepared for the next thing in line. So you can find us at sumsub.com. You can reach out to any of our lovely team members, basically, and inquire more about what I just told, probably in a much more coherent and consistent way. But yeah, as I said, our mission, our objective remains to be the same, and our team as the data intelligence team is doing our part in making it happen. Thankfully, with partnerships, companies such as Enformion delivering on their end, and that's basically how it all works, through strong partnerships and regional leadership, regional experience.